Hi, welcome back to Harmon Speaks. We're on location tonight. We've got a really great show for you. We've got something new going on in Knoxville and Knox County, something I've heard about and was very excited about, and I wanted to come out and talk to you about it. First of all, this is my friend Paul. What's your last name, Paul?
Paul Trumpor.
Trumpor, thank you. Tell me what you do, Paul.
I'm the Director of Public Fire Education and the Chaplain for the City of Knoxville Fire Department.
Ooh, that's nice. So tell me a little bit about your job. What do you do?
Well, when we have fires, I go and help people get some of the services that they need, like Red Cross, and in a couple of our fires, we had to get some people out and had to carry them downstairs. Right. People that use wheelchairs because elevators were out of service.
Right.
And we didn't have anywhere to put them when we got to the bottom. Okay. We had to borrow some wheelchairs. So now we have wheelchairs.
Great, great. Now we've started this new program. You've got a trailer here that has durable medical equipment. Tell me a little bit of what you're doing with these.
So we have 42 wheelchairs. We have 10 rollators, which are walkers that can roll, but somebody can sit down and rest in them.
Right.
We have crutches. We have walkers. We have some sensory, special sensory equipment for people that may not be doing well with noise and light.
Okay.
So several different items that we have in here. Some canopy tents, tables and chairs that we can set up some emergency accountability of how we can make sure we get things back. Okay. But really, this is made for a quick response to get to a place where we need wheelchairs.
Okay.
So one of the purposes for this is if we have to do a mass evacuation out of high rises or other emergency locations. But another is for shelters, for sheltering operations. But one of the things that people don't think about quite so much is if we have a mass disaster and we have a lot of patients, we can actually put some people in wheelchairs at least to help move them along in their care process too. Sure. So this is just a tool to get them where they need to go as quick as possible.
Okay. Where did the idea for this come from?
So Thanksgiving weekend in 2021, we had an evacuation of a high-rise apartment building.
Okay.
And because of the sprinkler activation in that building, we did not have the use of the elevators. Okay. And when you have a 14-story building and you have 50-some people in wheelchairs, some of them motorized wheelchairs, some of them regular wheelchairs, and you are having to carry them downstairs, we aren't going to carry motorized wheelchairs. It's just not safe to do that in an emergency situation.
Sure.
It's get people out.
Right.
But where do you put the people?
Right.
So when you get them down to the ground floor, we were literally putting them in just normal room chairs in a meeting room, but we got away with that. We could do that in that circumstance. If we had a fire, we would not be able to do that. We'd have to get them on out and go back and rescue more people. So we wanted to get to a place where we could be sufficient instead of trying to beg, borrow, and steal some wheelchairs. We did that night, but we could only get 7. And we had 50-some people in wheelchairs. So we ended up doing a plan B. We ended up doing a workaround and got some of those wheelchairs back that they needed. But in an emergency, we may not have that opportunity. And 2 months later, we had another circumstance, almost identical circumstance, had the same kind of problem. We needed wheelchairs again. And we could get in a pickle by not having them. This allows us to get them there, have use of them. It's not just that we have a cache of wheelchairs sitting in a building somewhere.
Sure.
This is ready to hook up to and go. So we can generally be on the scene of most anywhere, at least within Knox County, probably within 45 minutes or so if we had to. But it's just a ready resource.
That's fantastic.
And not only is this here, but now we have some other communities in Tennessee and outside of Tennessee that have copied it. And I'm glad that they did, because now they have a ready resource.
That's great. Now I'm sure that an idea like this doesn't just drop out of heaven and happen. So did you work with a group of people to make this happen?
We did.
Tell us a little bit about that.
We had some partners from Knoxville ADA Compliance Office and from Knox County ADA Office and the Knoxville Knox County Emergency Management Agency, and then we had some other partners that joined in along the way, some other emergency service agencies, some other care facilities, the Knoxville East Tennessee Healthcare Coalition, and because we had that partnership, we were able to get people and agencies to kick in to be able to help. And I'll give you a for instance. Knox County bought the trailer for us. Well, that's almost a $12,000 trailer, and we had to get some things built into it. So they bought the trailer. The Tennessee Federation of Fire Chaplains did the build out of the trailer. The Healthcare Coalition bought 20 chairs. Red Cross bought another 7 chairs that are a little bit wider for people that are a little bit bigger. And then Knoxville ADA office bought another 5 bariatric wheelchairs, so they're up to 600 pounds that we could carry a person in those.
So if I'm on the scene, I can be carried out. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. We want to be able to get everybody out of there.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's really wonderful.
Thank you.
So how long has this been operating now?
We've really had it in service just almost a year. I think we got where we could be wheels up with it last October. It didn't officially get presented until the beginning of February, but it was really ready in October where we could start. It's got some more equipment since then, but it's ready to go, and it can go not just to here, but it's a regional asset. And the nice thing that we like about it is, we deal with politics. Everywhere deals with politics, and if we had it owned by the city, it'd have to have a city vehicle with a city driver. If it was owned by the county, they'd have to say the same thing. So because they had the gifting to one mutual aid available agency, the Tennessee Federation of Fire Chaplains, they can pull it with a team of people. We can have any of those member agencies that could pull it, and it'd still be a resource without having to worry about we don't have the right driver or the right vehicle.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being worried about the people of Knox County. I think that's great.
Well,
thank you.
I'm not worried. I just want to make sure they get the resources.
Well, and I appreciate that. I really do. If I get caught in the building and catch it on fire, I want you to get me out.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
I think that's great. Thank you for what you do. I think this is really an exciting program.
Thank you for coming to see it.
My pleasure.
And we'll give you a good look at it.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you, Paul.
All right.
By the way, if you are watching this video and you need some durable medical equipment, but you're not in a fire or an emergency, there is a place called Spark in South Knox County. You can look it up, Google it. I don't have the phone number memorized. Maybe Neil will look it up and put it on the video for us. Spark will help you get durable medical equipment if you need it. So if you have that need, please contact us and we'll help you out. And Spark was one of the partners on this deal, so I appreciate what they've done as well as what everybody else has done. All right, next guest we're going to talk to is Carly Pearson. You may remember she's been on the show twice, showing her extraordinary athletic ability. And that's fun for us because Neil and I have none.
Hey.
I can eat a candy bar really quickly, and other than that, I have none. So it's nice to have you back on the show, Carly.
Good to see you both.
Now, she's not just a Jane Doe anymore. She's the boss hog of Knox County, and we're really glad to have her. She is the coordinator of the ADA. I got that backwards. She is the ADA coordinator. She tries. I'm the best, one of the best for Knox County. And one thing I'm going to say about her before I jump into the interview is every single time I call this woman, the answer is yes, I'll help you, and then she does. So I appreciate that, Carly. Thank you.
Well, I thank you.
I'm not used to that with political folks, so thank you for being helpful.
Well, I am not the boss hog of Knox County, but I do try to help make sure that the people are helped and taken care of in Knox County.
Well, I didn't mean to boost you. You would have gotten a pay raise. I was trying to help you out, but okay, that's fine. Thank you, Carly. Tell me a little bit about your involvement with this trailer.
Sure. Okay. So I started with Knox County only about a year and a half ago, and so I'm fairly new to the role as the ADA coordinator, but as you know, I've lived the School of Hard Knocks for 20 years while using the wheelchair. So I feel like I'm pretty embedded in the disability community here locally. And shortly after I was hired was the November incident that Captain Paul was talking about with the high rise. And I have a background as a firefighter and worked several years, specifically in emergency management in another state when I was a firefighter. So emergency management is a passion of mine, and it's near and dear to my heart. And when I heard about the situation that evolved and that it actually happened several other times after the November incident, myself and the city ADA coordinator, along with Paul and a couple other collaborators, decided that this portion of the population we weren't really thinking ahead of the game to make sure that we're including the population during an incident, and how can we elevate our plan to make sure that we are included and that we're not having to think of this after the fact. Right. And it was really Paul's grand idea to say, hey, we need something mobile. We need something to where we can basically roll up to a scene and have wheelchairs and medical equipment available, durable medical equipment available, so that folks aren't left. They could be evacuated from their homes for a week to 2 weeks even sometimes.
Sure.
So imagine me not having a wheelchair, you possibly not having your prosthetics.
Right.
What would we do? How would we get around? And so we got with Knox County Emergency Management and decided that we would add an annex to what's already existing in our emergency plan, and create this annex so that we have a greater action plan for emergencies and disasters for people with disabilities. And in that, part of that annex is this durable medical equipment trailer. And that's where the politics comes in a little bit. Who's going to pay for what? How are we going to, how are we going to make this come to life? And honestly, it was one of the best collaborations I've worked with, as far as pulling resources together and saying, okay, how can we make this happen? And Knox County just happened to have the money in the ADA budget to be able to provide the trailer. And then, as Paul mentioned, the Tennessee Healthcare Coalition had purchased a lot of the wheelchairs, and then the city of Knoxville purchased more chairs. Red Cross, KEMA threw in some of the tents, as mentioned, and then all of these items, the trailer, we donated to the fire chaplains so that we don't have the logistical problem of having to have one specific person drive the trailer for emergencies.
Well, as a guy wearing prosthetics, I have often thought what would happen if my house caught on fire and I didn't have these on, because it takes too long to put them on to do it safely. And nobody in my family is carrying them out, because I wouldn't allow that. And so I didn't know if I'd even leave, what would be the point. And this gives me hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does, because I wouldn't have thought I would be worth saving. What would I do? I couldn't walk, couldn't go anywhere. And this makes a difference for people like me.
It does, and for people like myself, in a very emergent situation, first responders are going to protect life first. So they may not be able to go back and get our equipment. And so we need to also have a contingency plan. Those of us with disabilities, we need to plan a little better and be more prepared for incidents like this. Hopefully they never happened, but it's better to be able to be prepared.
That's exactly right.
So, thinking about that ahead of time, what am I going to do if this did occur? Do I have, some outside support that I can lean on? Do I have a ready bag? These are things that we can talk about in a future show.
Yes, we will. Absolutely.
Just trying to make sure that we have provisions in place.
It's very hard for me to plan ahead, so I will try though. And I really do want you to know that I appreciate that in your position you're doing this kind of thinking and trying to make these kind of changes. I feel more comfortable knowing there's somebody out there looking at this. So thank you, Carla.
Well, I'm not the inventor of this quote by any means, but nothing about us without us. And so we have to be at the table to be able to help these things come to life.
I absolutely agree with you, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
And please tell your gorgeous children I said hello.
I will. Thank you.
That's what we have in common. We have great kids. A couple of little notes before we go. First of all, my youngest great kid turned 18 today. Happy birthday, Nathan. I'm extremely proud of your son. And secondly, we have a former guest on our show, a lady named Lauren Dake, who unfortunately passed away last week. Our sympathy goes out to her family and friends, and our prayers. I hope you all do well, and I'm sorry to lose Lauren. She was an amazing young lady. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you learned something. I hope you feel a little more secure, knowing that people in Knox County government are trying to make a difference for you like this. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Thank you, and God bless.